The regular City Council meeting of October 26th is hereby called to order at 6:23 p.m. Where the City Clerk's office will provide brief information relating the conduct of the meeting.
Today's meeting is open to the public with limited seating capacity to allow for social distancing. Virtual viewing and participation opportunities are still being provided. All persons who attend the City Council meetings are required to wear a face mask and/or face shield at all times and practice social distancing. Please note that in light of AB 361, the City Council meeting is being conducted as a hybrid virtual meeting and in-person meeting. Staff will practice social distancing and will practice and follow the public health and safety guidelines. City officials, staff, and members of the public may participate in the City Council chambers, subject to social distancing requirements, and/or virtually using the Zoom platform. The meeting can be viewed via various platforms as follows: City of Hawaiian Gardens local cable channel, ATT 99, Frontier 16, Spectrum 36, Zoom, and live stream via the city website at www.hgcity.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the invocation, if we could please bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray that you guide us and always satisfy the needs to be met during the meeting. Please provide the strength to the council as they make these tough decisions. Help us work together as we encourage each other to excellence. We ask this in your name. Amen. Now if we could please stand for the flag salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now if the City Clerk's office can please conduct a roll call.
Councilmember Del Rio, she has requested to be excused from tonight's meeting. Councilmember Maravilla,
Here.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Farfan,
Here.
Mayor Roa.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. So we'll open up to public comments. Will the City Clerk's office please provide brief information relating public comments?
There are several ways a member of the public may participate during the public comment section of the agenda, both virtually and in person. A member of the public may submit a public comment via written correspondence by placing it in the city's Dropbox located both the north and south entrances of City Hall, or submitting an e-comment through the city's website. They may also submit an email to clerksoffice@hgcity.org. Another way to participate during general public comment is through our Zoom option. A member of the public may virtually attend the meeting by logging in the Zoom meeting. The meeting ID and passcode is located in the agenda packet. Meeting ID number for tonight's meeting is 964-354-4069. Passcode is capital HG1. They may also dial in and call 1-669-900-6833 and use passcode star 260613#. Lastly, a member of the public may participate in person located at the City Council chambers. And with that, public comment is now open.
Thank you. Did we receive any callback or online comments?
No, we have not.
Okay. Then at this point, we can open it up to anybody who would like to say any public comments.
Looking at you guys. Thank you for sharing. Thanks. Well, let me start over. Hi, guys. I'm Eric Leon, Vice President of Local 3624, 17-year employee of the City of Hawaiian Gardens. And I just wanted to come today to, in solidarity with my brothers and sisters of Local 3624 to bring awareness to the ARP funds and the premium pay subject. I do want to make sure that I provide a source for you guys. I am using the National League of Cities website to quote some of their definitions. The American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, local fiscal recovery funds may be used to provide premium pay to eligible workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 pandemic. Workers who have been and continue to be relied on to maintain continuity of operations of essential critical sectors of our city, are the employees that we're referring to this evening, excuse me. I just want to make sure that you guys give the employees an opportunity and consideration when you come to the discussions of the allocations of the ARP funds. It's difficult standing here in front of you guys, being such a humbled individual as far as you guys giving this opportunity to work through the pandemic. So understand that it's something that we understand the city has to make difficult decisions. We just want to make sure that you guys keep the employees in consideration when you have these ongoing allocation discussions for the ARP funds. Thank you for your time. I hope that everything is well with you guys for the remainder of this year as we come into the holidays. And again, thanks again.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and distinguished council. I am a proud member of ASME Local 3624 and the chair of our ARPA committee. First, I'd like to say that it is an honor and a privilege to work for a municipality, especially one as unique as Hawaiian Gardens. I'm speaking this evening to implore the council to consider the workers who worked through the pandemic as it relates to the ARPA funds. We want the council to know how dedicated your employees are to this city and to make you aware of the impact of the presence of COVID-19 in this city that COVID-19 has had in this city and still continues to have on the city employees. Hopefully I won't get in trouble for sharing this employee story, but I am here to provide a voice for those who are too afraid to speak for themselves. This employee is hardworking, dedicated, and they sheltered in place during the peak of COVID-19. This employee contracted COVID-19 by simply coming to work. The employee never complained, but they did take COVID-19 home to their family. COVID-19 has left a lasting chronic illness called vertigo in this employee. If you're not sure what vertigo is, it's something that when you stand up, sit down, lay down, you spin. The room spins for maybe 2 minutes, 2 seconds. You just never know when it's gonna stop. Lastly, this person still comes to work every day, does not complain, they just push through. Lastly, I'd like to inform the council that this is a new executive board with a new mindset. We would like to work collectively with council and be on one accord as a union. We all have one common goal, to create a great work environment for our employees and maintain a great residence for all of our residents. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you all.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. I'm also a proud member of AFNI Local 3624. I'm speaking this evening to ask the Council to please consider the workers that you deemed essential and who worked through the pandemic and continue to do so. My coworkers and I work numerous amounts of programs to provide many different resources for our community, such as food giveaways that began on June 2020 and continue to have on a weekly basis. We distributed 7,811 bags of food in 2020. This year, a little over 4,025. That's a little over 11,836 bags of groceries to our residents. As far as diaper giveaways, we started in February 18 and we still continue to do so. We have distributed about 2,981 families with diapers. Our vaccination clinics. Since April 12th through June 25th, we had about 4,765 people come through our doors and get vaccinated. We distributed HG care packages to most of our residents and small businesses so that they help them to stay open. We did this all during the height of the pandemic in order to keep the city moving forward. We humbly ask you that you consider us in the budgeting for the ARP funds. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and distinguished council. My name is Brianna Gonzalez, and I am also speaking this evening to implore council to consider the workers who worked during the pandemic as it relates to the REP fund. From the start of the pandemic until now, the Youth Employment Program was able to provide work experience for over 300 young adults in the community. and the program received over $500,000 from LA County to support the youth in the program. While staff from other agencies declined to manage the youth program due to the in-person contact and high-risk exposure involved while managing the program, the finance department and I accepted to work with the program and took on additional responsibility while being short-staffed. This impacted the job duties of all employees in finance. If it was not for finance staff and myself working hard to provide support for an extra 80 student employees each month, the city would have lost out with one less free, meaningful service available. Employees have sacrificed their own health and lives in order to provide services that benefit the city during this difficult time. We humbly ask that the council considers us in the budgeting of ARP funds. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Francisco Noyola. I've been working here for about 5 years now, and I just wanted to be here and stand in solidarity also with my union brothers and sisters, and asking you guys to consider us for the ARP funds as well. I wanted to start by first reading some objectives that come straight from the U.S. Department of Treasury on what these funds were allocated for, and how AFSCME members have already been meeting those objectives throughout the pandemic. The first one is support COVID-19 response efforts to continue to decrease the spread of the virus and bring the pandemic under control. AFSCME workers had brought the vaccination clinic here and to the rec building and worked 7 days straight without days off. I know a lot of workers who came day in and day out and to make sure everyone got the vaccine, putting themselves at risk, people who potentially were exposed to COVID. So I think that's something that we should at least acknowledge. The second objective is replace lost revenue for eligible state, local, territorial, and tribal governments to strengthen support for vital public services. AFSCME workers have been laid off, had to flex their hours. Some people we had to eliminate positions to try to balance the budget, and half the workers are still laid off. And we still come to work with reduced hours, trying to take on more assignments to try to meet the needs of the community. The third objective is support immediate economic stabilization for household and businesses. AFSCME workers are the ones implementing the programs that you guys are putting forward, the rental assistance programs. Like I said, we are the people who put your ideas to work, and I think we would like to be acknowledged with being considered for this ARP money. The fourth objective is to address systemic public health and economic challenges that have contributed to the unequal impact of the pandemic. Like Ileana explained, we have given countless bags of food, being on the front lines, dealing with people, trying to connect them with resources and community organizations to try to get their needs filled so we can lessen the hardship of the COVID pandemic. We all know that this money, it's only going to be a one-time thing, and I understand that we want to use it for infrastructure so we can avoid another 2020 financial crisis in the future. But I think for everything we've been through this year, I think it's time to reconsider it and look into the people who had made the sacrifices. We've lost a lot of great workers and some friends throughout the pandemic. Some of us are here still hurting, our families still sick, and I'm just here again to implore you guys to reconsider us with the ARP funds. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Honorable Mayor. I'm a proud member of the AFSCME 3624. I'm speaking this evening to implore the Council to consider the workers who worked through this pandemic as it relates to ARP funds. I was working as twice for the summer lunch program, frontline, as much as finishing up as a boxing coach when I happened to get infected with COVID. I want to kind of explain briefly what I went through. I was 3 weeks induced in a coma with on a ventilator. It was kind of something that I would have never imagined happening. I lost 32 pounds in those 3 weeks, not having anything to eat during that time. Eventually, after about a month, I got out and ended up at a rehab that I would have never thought in my mind that I could not walk, could not balance myself, could not go to the bathroom by myself. I needed someone to help me, shower me, someone to feed me. It took me about 5 days to start eating on my own. When I got there, I thought my life was done. Luckily, they had some very good nurses. They came to my help and actually helped me in various ways to try to get through this. I've been home already a little bit over a month. I'm doing a lot better. But like I said, just to kind of let you guys know what some of us on that front line have had to go through. I've even had other situations that I didn't even have. I'm wearing a heart monitor underneath my shirt. That my heart, for some reason, ended up being elevated after COVID. I've never had none of these problems. My shoulder, kind of out of the place that I don't know if I got pulled while I was in the hospital or something. But like I said, I'm a lot better, and I'm thankful that I'm here in front of you guys. But like I said, just here humbly asking the council to consider the budgeting of this ARP funds, not saying that that's going to help my situation, but like I said, been like 3 months without working, wishing that, you guys know that boxing is my passion, and I'd love to be back at work, but sometimes things happen. But for some of these people that have been affected by this situation and haven't had it as bad as me, but still they've been put out there. So I'm just hoping that you guys, consider the funds for some of these other co-workers. And I wasn't really prepared to talk, and I'm not feeling up to my best, but I had to come and do what I had to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Manny.
Good evening, Mayor and distinguished council. My name is Lori Candinas. I am the business rep for those proud members of Local 3624. We do thank you this evening for taking the time to listen to them and listen to their stories as it relates to the pandemic. And we humbly ask that you consider the ARP funds for these workers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Rami Torres, President of AFSCME Local 3624. First of all, thank you for all you've done over the course of this pandemic. There's been a lot of tough decisions. There's been a lot of cuts. No one wanted to face layoffs. No one's wanted to make the decisions that we've all had to make and the sacrifices that we've endured. With the ARP funds, there's a lot the city can do. It's brought to the forefront a lot of pending items, infrastructure importantly, purchases that need to be made to secure the future of the city. But our members also, our employees, they also have sacrificed as well. We've come to the table many times throughout this. Furloughs, we understood that, we took that. Hours were cut. Every time we needed to pivot, we have throughout this pandemic. It is just a recognition for the different trials that we've been through as a city. We want to continue to build the city back up. We do not want to sacrifice funds or moving forward, but your consideration in going forward and the use of these funds is greatly appreciated. We'll continue to do the job and get through the pandemic, and as things open up, work these programs and do the best we can for the residents. The services that are provided are only as good as the employees here that do it. And many of the employees, as you know, are residents. Many have been here well over 10, 15 years. And that dedication will continue regardless of the funds. But there were a lot of items that were done just from the Public Works standpoint, items that the trash company would not pick up were picked up. Walking through the COVID line when people were tested, that went through all the way almost to the parking lot, walk through that line every day to come into these buildings. So that consideration is just something that we would like you to consider in review of these funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, this is for Zoom. If anyone on Zoom would like to speak during general public comments regarding non-agenda and/or agenda items, please virtually raise your hand now. Seeing none, the public comment for Zoom has been open for 17 minutes and 32 seconds. You may now close public comment.
We will now close public comments. And it was nice to see you, Manny, before you walk out. We hadn't seen him since he hit the pandemic and he suffered the illness. And so it was nice to see that you're doing a lot better. And so now we'll move over to presentations. We do have a video, Bashir.
This is the Great Shakeout, one of the largest earthquake drills ever. Practice now so you can protect yourself during a real earthquake.
Hello, Hawaiian Gardens. My name is Steve Gomez, Director of the Recreation and Community Services Department. This morning, the city and participants participated in the nationwide Great Shakeout evacuation drill. This was conducted in order to be prepared in case of an earthquake or a natural disaster. The nationwide drill was conducted at 10:21 a.m. At this time, everyone in the buildings were instructed to drop and cover to be safe in the case of an earthquake. At the conclusion of this drill, everyone in the building was evacuated, and we took roll call to be sure that everybody was present.
Until we take roll, and the engineer will let us know when the buildings are safe.
After everyone was evacuated, city engineers and public works employees walked through the buildings here at City Hall and Recreation to be sure that the structures were safe and to find any missing participants.
I'm here to assist you. Are we looking for anybody?
Yep. Let's walk through the city management office.
Okay.
City staff's here. Anybody here? Is anyone here? Building? Nope. Anybody here?
Anybody here?
Nope. Anyone back here? Alright, she's heard. Anybody help here? You checked everything? Everyone is okay? Clear. Alright.
I got somebody here. Are you injured? No, I'm not. Oh, she's just scared. Building's all clear.
All clear. Thank you to our engineer, our building inspector, and our PW guys for walking through the building, finding our injured employees, and inspecting the building to make sure we're good. They have given the all clear so everyone can go back into the building and resume your workday.
The city would encourage its residents and kids at the schools to be aware of any natural disaster, to drop and cover in a safe place, and then as soon as the earthquake settles, try to evacuate the building as soon as possible and gather in an area where nothing can fall or hurt them.
Thank you, Bashir. Now we'll have a presentation by the Youth Leader Institute.
Hi, everybody. Part of Youth Leadership Institute, and I'm here with Alma, Juan, Narita, Priscilla, and Jesse, and Shalyn as well. I have sharing capabilities. I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll do some introductions as well. Okay, passing it to you, Alma.
Thank you, Monse. Good evening, City Council, staff, and community. My name is Alma Sanchez. I use she and her pronouns, and I am a program coordinator with the Youth Leadership Institute. We are very excited to present with our youth partners today. Thank you so much for taking your time and for giving our youth a platform to uplift their voices. Before we get started, we will do a quick round of introductions. So I'll pass it over back to Monse.
Hi, again, my name is Monse. I'm the SoCal director for YLI, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And Shannon, who's also here with us, she's our program manager and one of the main ones working with Alma in this project. And just want to name that they're here and thank them in moving forward this presentation. And I'll pass it to Juan.
Hi, my name is Juan. I use the pronouns he and him. I am a member of YCA in Hawaiian Gardens. I'm currently 18 years old and I go to California State University of Dominguez Hills. I'm excited to talk about the issue of smoke-free policies in our city, and I'd like to pass it on to Narita.
They're freeze.
You can pass it to Jesse and see if the radar figures out there. Your mic.
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name's Jesse. My pronouns are he, him. I lived in Hawaiian Gardens for 9 years and I'm currently a senior at Artesia High School. I, along with Juan and Narita, am also a member of YCA in Hawaiian Gardens. And I'm really excited to be here tonight to talk about smoke-free policies in our city and why it means so much to me. And I'll go ahead and pass it to Priscilla.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Priscilla Santos. My pronouns are she and her. I am a junior at Artesia High School. I am also the president of the Teen Council at the Teen Center. I have been a part of YCA for a while now. I have also lived in Hawaiian Gardens my whole life, and I'm excited to talk about secondhand smoke and how it affects not only ourselves but others around us. And I thank you for taking time out of your day to keep that. And I'll pass it to Alejandra.
Alejandra couldn't join us today. Just checking if Narita. Can you hear us?
Yes, sorry. I'm able to unmute now. Hi, my name is Narita. I'm 18 years old and a first year at UC Riverside. My pronouns are she and her, and I have lived in Hawaiian Gardens for 16 years. I'm also a member of YCA in Hawaiian Gardens along with everybody else. And smoking in apartments is an issue that is important to me as well.
Awesome, and Alejandra might join us a little bit later, but we'll keep moving forward. And I just want to give a little background to Youth Leadership Institute. And YLI is a statewide organization. We work here in California. We have 7 different offices throughout California, 3 in the Bay Area, 2 in the Central Valley, and 2 in SoCal. And we work with over 70 different cohorts that serve 1,700 youth throughout the ages of 14 and 26. 90% of those who are youth of color and 60% of them that qualify as low income. And YLI is a nationally recognized leader in the field of youth development, and we try to provide young people with the tools that they need to identify community needs and implement different solutions in their specific cities and where they have grown up through training with adult allies and successfully partnering with different organizations and cities. And our goal is to really support leaders like Juan, Narita, Jesse, Priscilla, and those that couldn't be here today to be more active in civic engagement opportunities where youth involvement is commonly low. And we also support with civic engagement with cities to make them a little bit more youth friendly. Just want to give a really quick shout out to our youth who are here today. It's a school day, it's a school night, and they're taking the time of their day to be here to present this issue that they're really passionate about.
Thank you, Monse. Today, we will cover the following topics in our presentation, and after introducing our youth coalition, we will review the health impacts of secondhand smoke, specifically in multi-unit housing. We will also share our public opinion survey results and then highlight how cities like Hawaiian Gardens can take action to address this issue. Lastly, we will answer some frequently asked questions that come up when cities are considering actions to take. And I will pass it back to Monse.
And a little bit about YCA. You heard the youth name, Youth Community Advocates, and we got started in December 2018, and we work with our youth to develop those leadership skills such as public speaking, while also learning about local government and how to be advocates in their community. We also have an Instagram page if you want to follow it as well. And here are some of our members. You can see Priscilla, Nareda, Jesse, learn a little bit about them, Juan and Alejandra. Some fun facts about them. And one thing that really unites our group is wanting to make the city and communities better and healthier places for them to grow up, for their siblings to grow up, for everyone in Hawaiian Gardens to really grow up and be proud of the city if they are not already. And I'll pass it to Jesse to share a little bit about themselves.
So I wanted to go ahead and share a little bit about why I personally care so much about this issue. I care about the issue because I want to protect my loved ones from the dangers of secondhand smoke. Specifically, I have a 5-year-old younger brother and a newborn nephew whom I want to protect. Because they are so young, they're more vulnerable to the effects of secondhand smoke, and that's not something I want them or any other young children to be exposed to. And I'll pass it on to Juan.
Most people today have a general understanding of secondhand smoke, yet there is a tendency to associate it with traditional cigarettes. We want to highlight that a comprehensive definition of secondhand smoke is inclusive of secondhand aerosol from electronic smoking devices, also known as ESDs, as well as cannabis products. This inclusive definition acknowledges that there is no safe level of exposure because of the toxic and cancer-causing chemicals that are found in all types of secondhand smoke. While we have made many strides in minimizing the impact of secondhand smoke in environments such as restaurants, airplanes, and public buildings, we are here today because the primary source of secondhand smoke exposure for children is in their home. For individuals and families who live in multi-unit housing such as apartments or condos, the risk of secondhand smoke exposure is high due to the design of such buildings. Shared walls, plumbing, wiring, and ventilation allow smoke to travel easily between units, as you can see in the image. Secondhand smoke in multi-unit housing poses a significant threat to non-smoking residents, especially children and seniors. Every year, thousands of people die as a result of exposure to secondhand smoke. City Council can take an action to eliminate secondhand smoke exposure, protect residents, and save lives. As we have seen through the pandemic, ensuring that the air we share with one another is safe and healthy is a matter of life and death. Secondhand smoke exposure compromises the immune and respiratory systems, which are vital to surviving COVID-19. At this moment, I'd like to pass it on to Monse.
Thanks, Juan. And I just want to highlight that over the past few years, our agency has engaged in with many Hawaiian Gardens community organizations in very different ways to increase awareness about secondhand smoke. We've partnered with the food bank and had a chance to talk to residents there and provide some resources at the library as well. Right before the pandemic, we had been scheduled to do a presentation on secondhand smoke and hope to resume that whenever it's safe. The teen center as well, as it was just opening back in October 2019, I think, or 18. But being able to work with the young people there and provide some additional resources after school, and the senior center, and being part of their lunches, and getting a chance to talk to them there, to just provide those educational materials throughout the city, and of course going to the carnival, and going to neighborhood safety meetings like the ones that happen at the elementary schools. And with that, I'll pass it to Nareda.
So in addition to what Monse was talking about community education, in 2019, we conducted 200 public opinion surveys with residents of Hawaiian Gardens. This survey was approved by the IRB for adults 18 and over. And unfortunately, we had to halt our surveying activities due to the pandemic. All of our data was collected via 2 tablet devices and was processed by the LA County's Tobacco Control and Prevention Program. So this slide here shows some of our survey results. Here I would like to highlight one key data point. Up above where it says 90% of those surveyed would choose to live in a completely non-smoking building. If given the option, what this shows us is that there are very strong desire among those surveyed to live in a smoke-free environment. It is important to ensure that smoke-free housing is available to everyone regardless of their income. And then here we have some additional survey results, including the fact that nearly half of those surveyed had recently experienced secondhand smoke exposure in their home. Additionally, about half of those individuals live with a child and/or a senior. It is important to note that it may be more difficult or even impossible for children and seniors to leave their home in order to be safe from secondhand smoke. This is another reason it is important to have protections that allow them to stay in their homes and breathe clean air. And then I'll pass it on to Jesse.
Thank you. There are many benefits to a smoke-free multi-unit housing policy, as we have already mentioned. Some more key benefits include reduced fire risk and maintenance costs, as well as increased public health. Like COVID-19, the issue of secondhand smoke is an issue that exacerbates existing health inequities. So by passing a citywide ordinance, the city can ensure equal protections for all residents of multi-unit housing and change the social norms for future generations. And I'll go ahead and pass it to Alma.
Thank you, Jesse. Unfortunately, due to the lack of smoke-free policies, Hawaiian Gardens has scored a C from the American Lung Association. However, a smoke-free multi-unit housing policy would certainly improve that grade and result in a safer community for everyone. We can clearly see from the correlation between cities that have smoke-free multi-unit housing policies and higher grades, such as Compton, Huntington Park, Manhattan Beach, all have smoke-free multi-unit housing policies and have an A grade. Many other cities in the state and locally have already passed these policies to protect their residents, as you can see up here on the map. And I will pass it back to Monse.
Yeah, and another benefit in addition to the ones that Jesse named are having this policy be really customizable to the needs of the city and the resources that are available on the local level. We just wanted to name some of the best practices for establishing a strong, comprehensive policy with the maximum protections for residents. And these are just 12 provisions that almost 60 plus in California that have a smoke-free multi-unit housing policy include these 12 provisions. And just to highlight a few, it's really critical to ensure that all areas of multi-unit housing are smoke-free. And to return to the earlier point, secondhand smoke drifts quite easily. And if it were allowed in any area, it could easily travel and contaminate smoke-free areas. So these policies really guide the drafting of a comprehensive policy. And I will pass it to Jesse.
Thank you. There are many common concerns that may come up when talking about the topic of smoke-free multi-unit housing that we would like to address briefly now. First, you may be wondering why a city should pass an ordinance if landlords/owners can pass their own voluntarily. A city policy offers uniform, permanent protection for all residents. Additionally, it can establish buffer zones around buildings which voluntary policies cannot. Second, you may wonder, what about vapes? And the answer is aerosols emitted from electronic devices contain dangerous cancer-causing chemicals. There's a common misconception that they emit harmless water vapor. Third, we want to emphasize that condos are included in multi-unit housing. They are designed such that they are susceptible to drifting smoke, the same as apartments. Finally, enforcement varies from city to city, and there are many considerations which can include fines, but we believe it should not include eviction or criminalization. Enforcement works best when cities work in partnership with local property owners and managers to educate and inform residents of their rights and responsibilities. Here are some more Here's some other frequently asked questions we would like to address. For one, some smaller cities, understandably, are concerned about resources. Thankfully, there is already ample research, a model policy, and technical legal assistance available to support the city. Also, it is completely legal to regulate the smoking of cannabis just like any other form of smoking. People who use medical cannabis have a variety of non-combustible options to ingest THC, including pills, patches, tinctures, salves, edibles, and etc. We want to emphasize that there is no constitutional right to smoke. Lastly, people who smoke can live in smoke-free housing. They just have to adjust their habits or go to a designated smoking area if allowed by the city. And I'll pass it back to Alma.
Thank you, Jesse. We hope to continue to work with the city and the community to improve public health, and we hope that the city will consider agendizing this issue for further discussion. I will now share a key piece of our work that our youth coalition has been doing. Now we would like to share with you a video PSA that our youth leaders created. With this project, one of our youth members, Alejandra, who could not be here today, had the opportunity to build on their artistic skills and experiment with virtual illustration. All of the graphics you will see here were drawn by them, and with the help of an animator, they were able to bring these drawings to life. All right, here is our contact information. We would love to stay in touch, and now we are happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you for the presentation. I think Councilmember Maravilla has a question.
Hi, everyone. So I want to thank you for taking the time to make this presentation and, virtually meeting all of you that really took the time to put this together for us. This was a lot of information, and I appreciate the fact that you guys made an effort to be here at our council meeting, because a lot of people do get to watch the meetings from the comfort of their home. And this also expands greatly from the information provided to me by the Youth Leadership Institute in regards to the secondhand smoking. I know this is a really important issue, especially for individuals that live in multi-unit housing. And I myself live in a multi-unit housing, so I've experienced secondhand smoke, and I can assure you that it is a nuisance, and it's very unfortunate that it happens. And as a decision maker, I think this really gives us a lot to work with and think about. So I really want to thank you. Your time and effort is greatly valued, and I just want to encourage the young individuals that participated in this to keep going and continue trying to make change at the local level, because that greatly impacts everyone that lives here in Hawaiian Gardens. So again, just thank you, and I hope to bring back this item in a future meeting.
Any other comments?
I just want to say thank you for the presentation. It was very informative, and I want to acknowledge you for taking the time and creating the presentation and really, making that difference in our community, bringing awareness to the community, even to us, because I never realized that secondhand smoke can go through, and it makes sense, through the apartment buildings, through the air conditioning system, through the walls, because the walls have holes like outlets and plugs and whatnot, and that can definitely travel to the second floor or the third floor. And yeah, there's a tremendous impact on families that, they have little babies and they care for the health, and now they're exposed to the smoke without even knowing that it could really put them in danger. So I want to thank you for continue making the difference and sharing your knowledge and expertise on secondhand smoke. And as for us, it's something to consider for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alma, and the rest of the group for the presentation. Thank you for being here tonight. And like my colleague said, thank you for taking initiative just to discuss some of these issues. Just a quick question. I know that you guys mentioned some of the frequently asked questions, but I think the challenge with something like this would just be how do you implement it? Have you guys put any additional thought into something like that?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and I can take a first stab at it, and then I'll ask Alma if she has anything to offer. We have a lot of resources, specifically from previous cities that have drafted ordinances. So we have a sample ordinance that can be provided to the city attorney and the city manager. And we also have the technical assistance support from the Public Health Law Center, which they are tasked to support cities in the drafting of it, because we know that sometimes resources are limited. But that shouldn't be an impediment to being able to look at amendments. And then to your point of enforcement, every enforcement looks differently. And there's lots of things to consider with that as well. But with the sample ordinance, it gives some guidance, and it's really a conversation that you all as city council can have to be able to know what's the best outcomes that you would want for enforcement to look like in your city. Some examples that we noted is, for example, eviction. You have the opportunity to put that as a provision or not put that as a provision. You have an opportunity to choose an enforcement process that is citizen-driven versus fine-driven versus a mix of both. It just depends on what you feel is the best for your city, and that's why these conversations come to you and require that additional discussion. Do you want to add anything, Alma?
I was just going to add, like you mentioned, each city is unique and has their own implementation, but we do offer resources like you mentioned.
Did that answer your question, or do you have any follow-ups?
No, that answers my question. Thank you very much, ladies, and gentlemen. If there's nothing else, I think. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move over to agenda organization. Would any council member like to make any changes to the agenda? No, if not, may I have a motion to approve the agenda in its
I'll
entirety?
make a motion to approve the agenda in its entirety.
I'll second that.
Can I get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Maravilla?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarado?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farfan?
Yes.
Mayor Roa?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We do not have any public hearings. Consent calendar. And now we will move over to consent. Does any council member would like to put any item of the agenda for separate discussion? No? May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
the
second.
Can I get a roll call vote?
I meant to second on Prime Gov.
I think
I got it.
she got it.
Okay.
Can we get a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilmember Maravilla?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarado?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farfan?
Yes.
Mayor Roa?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we'll move over to discussion items. There are none tonight. Any committee reports? No. Do we have any new business? No. Any oral staff reports? Yes, Steve?
Yes, Mayor and members of the City Council. One brief report for you. Bashir, if you don't mind opening up the PowerPoint. I have a brief PowerPoint for you this evening. Just to update all of you on the Recreation Department, our current levels of service, just to refresh your memory, and some upcoming levels of service that we plan to reopen due to the pandemic. So I'm sure the past several months we've discussed some of the levels of service and just wanted to refresh your memory this evening. So listed on this slide are some of our current levels of service and programs for your information. We continue to provide the scholarship program both to the adult and youth populations. We have reestablished the adult soccer program that takes place Friday evenings for the women and then on the weekends for the men. In our social services area, we received a grant from the LA Food Bank and that allows us to distribute baby diapers on a biweekly basis. We have been able to restaff Clarkdale Park as well as the skate park 3 times a week. The drive-through food distribution, we continue to do that every Wednesday. We have staffing supervision at the sports complex. As you know, our user groups have been able to reestablish their youth programs, so they are out there at the sports complex. Leeward Park, we have staff there, and the park is open to the youth 5 days a week. The senior center, we've been open 3 days a week for the seniors to come and play billiards and do arts and crafts, as well as the food box program that we continue to distribute, and the senior nutrition program, which is the lunch program. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to reestablish the on-site lunch program at this point, but we do deliver lunches to the seniors. In addition, we make wellness phone calls to the seniors to be sure that we check in on our seniors to be sure they're doing okay and answer any questions they have. The teen center is open 5 days a week as well, and we have been able to continue to provide transportation services to our resident seniors, as well as operate the weight room, and I mentioned the scholarship program. Some upcoming levels of service that we wanted to share with all of you and the public is the reopening of activities at the C. Robert Lee Activity Center. The goal there is to open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., specifically making the basketball court available, having customer service available at the front counter, in addition to the game room and the racquetball courts. Keep in mind that, as mentioned, the weight room and the senior center are also open. Speaking of the senior center, beginning the week of November 8th, we will transition from operating 3 days a week to 5 days a week. So the seniors will be able to visit us Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. And continue with the activities listed, and we're going to work to try and introduce some new activities as well. And then finally, we're planning on hosting a few special events coming up. The next one is actually this Friday evening. Wanted to remind all of you that the Teen Center is hosting a Halloween celebration. We will be providing a pumpkin patch area as well as some tricks and treats starting at 6 p.m. at the Teen Center. In November, we're hosting the annual pet vaccination clinic. And then pending budget approval, we are targeting for the Christmas tree lighting ceremony on Friday, December 3rd, and Student Government Day in February of 2022. So those are some of the upcoming events based on the calendar that we wanted to share with all of you and the public this evening. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
Steve, have we, with regards to opening back some of the facility, how we discussed if masks are going to be mandatory and how we plan to implement it or anything like that?
Yes, sir. So we continue to abide by LA County. And as we approach the opening and the promotions of reopening, we will refer to the county for their direction and their guidelines, and abide by whatever they may be at that time. As far as enforcement, we're confident that we will have staff available throughout the facility to enforce those policies.
And do we have the temperature stations or?
Yes, we do. As you enter the facility right now, we have one on the senior center side, where we have the temperature machine, we have the hand sanitizers available, and we also have a login sheet as well where everybody has to sign in.
I got a quick question. Steve, I'm not sure if you have an update, but on the room A and B and the patio for rentals, anything on that?
Yes, so again, we will continue to abide by the county guidelines. It is feasible. Large events like that, it does make it more challenging as far as enforcement of masks, and it entails staffing. So I believe those are issues that will be discussed in the upcoming budget process. But yes, as far as we have adequate guidelines from the county and staffing, we're confident that we can resume that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Steve. I see Christmas tree lighting. Do we have any idea of what we plan? Is it similar to the past or?
Yes, so actually, the first committee meeting is next week, and right now the preliminary idea is similar to last year, which is the drive-through, as far as the gift distribution. And the idea so far for the tree lighting ceremony is to actually have the people in their cars that are already lined up. So those are the preliminary discussions, but I believe we have invited the special event committee consisting of council to that first meeting, so we'd be happy to get any input and direction at that first meeting.
Thank you, Steve.
Mayor, at City Hall, as you're aware, we've been open limited times, 9 to 2, Monday through Thursday. Effective next week, we will be opening regular hours, 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday. And we will have masks, sanitation, thermometers available for people that come in. We have been very successful with people coming in currently under our limited operating hours to respect the rules, to do the social distancing, maintain the masks. So we don't expect any issues with this extended opening.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, I don't think that the concern is too much that people would come into an area where they're, searching business licenses or anything like that. But my only anticipation is, like, for example, when they're playing basketball or physical activity, that they start sweating and start getting hot, and then that's when they would want to toss the mask off to the side, and that's where I would anticipate a little bit more of a challenge in staff being able to regulate that. But it is good that we're in my opinion, I think it is good that we're moving forward, and so hopefully we'll deal with some of these challenges, and people are just grateful to have a place to come in and enjoy some recreational activities. Thank you both. I don't see anybody else, so I think that's probably it for presentations. But with that, we'll move over to any city attorney reports. None tonight. Any oral city council reports? None. So then we'll move over to a closed session. Will the city attorney please read the closed session item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council will now convene in closed session pursuant to the items listed on the closed session agenda for labor negotiations with the agency designated representatives as listed on the agenda.
So with that, into closed session at 7:23 p.m. The city council has reconvened from closed session at 8:21. Would the attorney please report out of closed session? But sorry, before that, can you have a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Maravilla,
Here.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Farfan,
Here.
Mayor Roa.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Now, Megan, would you please report out?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council convened in closed session pursuant to the 2 closed session items listed on the agenda. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you. There being no further business, I here adjourn this meeting at, I believe it's 8:22 p.m. until the next city council meeting to be held on Tuesday, November 3rd at 6 p.m. November 9th at 6 p.m. Thank you.